Okay, so let's unpack a classic setup. You know the story.
Hmm.
It's the one we've been told since we were kids. David versus Goliath, the underdog.
It is the ultimate narrative. We love it in sports. We love it in movies.
We do.
Hmm.
But usually when we apply that lens to the business world, especially when we talk about like convenience stores, we kind of assume Goliath wins.
And for good reason. I mean, Goliath has the money.
Exactly. Goliath has the deep pockets, the massive marketing budget, the logistics, the ability to lobby.
Right. The assumption is always that the little guy just, gets crushed by the sheer weight of all those resources.
But today, we're looking at a source that argues the opposite. It suggests that in one specific critical area, maybe the most critical area right now, Goliath is actually at a disadvantage.
A huge disadvantage.
And that David, the small operator, has a weapon that money actually can't buy.
And just to be clear for everyone listening, that battlefield isn't pricing. It's not about who has the cheaper snacks.
Yeah.
It's the war for talent. It's about labor.
We are doing a deep dive today into a fascinating set of insights. It's titled The Small Operator Advantage, Mastering Labor and Purposeful Culture. And the main voice here is Steve McKinley, who's the founder and CEO of Urban Value Store.
And this is such a great case study because McKinley isn't, writing from an ivory tower. He's in the trenches.
Right. And before we get too deep, we should probably define our terms. When he talks about a small operator, who is he actually talking about? Because small can mean a lot of things.
It can, but in this context, he's being very specific. He's talking about businesses running anywhere from 1 to maybe 20 stores.
Okay, so not the single mom and pop, but also not the mega corporations.
Exactly. It's that sweet spot. The scaling business, the David that is actually trying to grow.
Got it. And the mission for this deep dive is to figure out how these operators can actually win the talent game. Because if you're running 5 stores, you cannot win a bidding war against a national chain.
No, you'd go broke in a week.
Boy.
So if you can't outpay them, how do you beat them?
Well, the source makes it clear that the winning strategy is built on 3 pillars: clarity, purpose, and simplicity.
Which, when you first read those words, they sound a little bit like
corporate buzzword bingo. It sounds like something you'd see on an inspirational poster.
It does, doesn't it? But as we peel this back, you'll see these aren't soft skills. In the hands of a smart operator, these are hard operational tactics. They are weapons.
So let's set the stage a little with the labor market. The source touches on the panic-level staffing shortages we saw a few years ago. We all remember it.
Oh, yeah. Help wanted signs in every window. It felt like the whole system was just seizing up.
Has that actually calmed down?
Well, according to McKinley, the panic has subsided. It's not the absolute chaos of 2021 or 2022, but, and this is the crucial part, the competition hasn't gone away. It's just changed.
How so?
The source argues that candidates today are more intentional than ever before.
That word intentional jumps out at me. What does that actually mean for a hiring manager?
It means the warm body strategy is dead. You can't just hire anyone with a pulse anymore. Candidates aren't just grabbing the first paycheck they see. They are vetting employers. They're looking for stability, for respect, and they're looking for clarity. They want to know exactly what they're signing up for.
They value their time differently now.
They really do. And this brings us to the first major insight from the text, which I found really compelling. McKinley draws this sharp distinction between how a labor shortage hits a giant chain versus how it hits a small operator.
Let's get into that, because on the surface, you'd think a labor shortage hurts everyone equally.
You would think so, but the impact is totally different. For a massive chain, say, a national big box retailer turnover is just a metric.
Right.
It's a number on a spreadsheet at headquarters. They have what the force calls deep rosters.
Okay, so if cashier number 412 quits, they have a pipeline of applicants, or they just pull someone from another department. It's annoying, sure, but the ship keeps sailing.
Exactly. Goliath can lose a soldier and keep marching. But for a small operator, someone running 5 stores with maybe 6 employees per location,
Yeah.
turnover isn't a metric. It is an operational event.
Operational event. That sounds serious. That sounds like a euphemism for a disaster.
In a small ecosystem, it kind of is. The source is explicit. One strong manager can elevate an entire location, and one weak hire can immediately disrupt the customer experience.
The blast radius is just so much bigger.
So much bigger.
That makes intuitive sense. If I walk into a huge department store and one clerk is grumpy, I might not even notice. If I walk into a neighborhood market, a small operator, and the person at the counter is rude or incompetent.
That's it. That is 100% of your experience. You can't hide a bad hire in a small business.
So the stakes are existential. You can't just churn and burn people. This leads us to McKinley's core philosophy on retention. And I love this because it goes against the standard advice of, buy them pizza.
The dreaded pizza party retention strategy. It's become a bit of a meme, hasn't it? We won't give you a raise, but here's some pepperoni.
Exactly. And the source rejects that. McKinley says the best retention strategy is designing a job people can succeed in.
It sounds so basic, yet so many get it wrong.
So let's look at the first strategy to do that. The source calls it clarity before day one.
This is what I was calling the anti-sales pitch.
Yeah. I was reading this and thinking how counterintuitive it is. Usually when you're desperate for staff, you go into full sales mode.
Oh, yeah.
You tell a candidate whatever they want to hear. The hours are flexible. It's a family atmosphere.
You'll love it. It's easy. Right. You're trying to close the deal. But the source says, stop, don't sell, define.
Don't sell, define. What does that actually look like in an interview?
It means strictly defining the role up front. Before the candidate even accepts, they need to see the pace, they need to see the friction. The source talks about using a realistic job preview.
So showing them the warts and all.
Essentially, it's establishing the rules of engagement. You aren't just saying, you'll run the register. You're explaining, here's what we do when the delivery truck is 2 hours late and there's a line out the door. Here is how we act.
So you're almost trying to scare them off.
You're filtering. That's the key word. You want them to opt in with their eyes wide open.
I see.
Think about the psychology here. If you sell a dream and the reality is hard work, the employee feels lied to. They feel baited and switched. And what do?
They quit. Probably in the first week.
Exactly. But if you describe the hard work, if you say, look, Tuesday mornings are frantic, and they say, I can do that, then when Tuesday morning comes, they aren't surprised. They're prepared.
It builds trust immediately.
The source puts it perfectly. If a candidate joins and says, wow, this is exactly what you told me it would be, you've won half the retention battle right there.
And that's the Goliath disadvantage, isn't it? Big chains often rely on broad, generic recruiting. They cast a huge net and let an algorithm sort it out.
They don't have time for this kind of human clarity. Small operators don't have the budget for high churn. They need to screen for fit, not just availability.
Okay, so we've filtered for the right people. Now they're in the building. The next pillar is purpose. And I have to be the skeptic for a second here.
Go for it.
Purpose in every transaction. It sounds nice, but it also sounds like a poster in a break room that nobody reads.
I get it.
How do you take purpose and make it real for a guy stocking shelves at 6 a.m.? How does that not just feel like corporate fluff?
It's a fair critique. Corporate purpose is often just flush, but the source is very specific here. Purpose isn't a poster, it's an operating standard.
Give me an example of what that looks like on the floor. How do you operationalize a feeling?
It shows up in the micro behaviors. McKinley lists examples. It's in acknowledging customers the second they walk in. It's moving with urgency, not dragging your feet.
Okay.
But the real key is the context, the why. The source uses the example of serving the community during hard times.
Like the severe weather events, right?
Yes. Think about it. If you're working at a convenience store during a hurricane, you aren't just selling chips and soda. You are a lifeline.
You're the only place open.
You're the only place where Mrs. Jones can get batteries or milk or a hot coffee when her power is out. That framing changes everything.
You aren't a clerk. You're a community pillar.
Exactly. And when employees understand why their work matters, that they are providing stability to the neighborhood, they stay longer. The source calls purpose stabilizing. It transforms I'm stocking shelves into I'm making sure the neighborhood has what it needs.
But someone has to keep that narrative alive day to day.
The manager. This is the linchpin. The source places a massive emphasis on the manager as multiplier.
I underline that section. In a small chain, manager development isn't just an HR nice to have. It is the business.
It is the business. Because in a small shop, the manager is the culture. There is no HR department down the hall. A great manager creates clarity and fairness. A poor manager creates chaos. And there's a quote in the text that really stuck with me. People don't leave hard work. They leave confusion and inconsistency.
That is profound.
Yeah.
People don't leave hard work. They leave confusion. I think anyone listening can relate to that.
We've all been there.
Yeah, we've all had jobs where the work was tough, but we liked it because we knew the rules. We knew what winning looked like.
But if the rules change every day because the manager is moody or disorganized, That's when you quit. You don't quit the lifting, you quit the guessing game.
So the small operator has to invest heavily in those store leaders.
Absolutely. If you lose the manager game, you lose the talent war.
Let's pivot to the actual tactics of finding these people. We talked about being honest, but where do you look? The Force argues that small operators have a structural advantage in recruiting, too.
They do. And again, it comes down to behaving like a small business, not a mini corporation. Small operators should recruit like a relationship-driven business, meaning you don't just post on a generic job board and wait. You use your physical presence, community-based recruiting.
So, local networks.
And you rely heavily on referrals, hiring people recommended by your best employees.
Why does the Source lean so hard on referrals?
Because your best employees know the pace. They know the reality of the job. They aren't going to recommend a slacker or someone who complains constantly because that makes their own life harder.
It's a self-policing mechanism.
Exactly. It filters for culture fit automatically. But the biggest weapon the small guy has, the one thing Goliath can't replicate, speed.
Speed.
The Source emphasizes this repeatedly. Small operators can have incredibly fast interview-to-offer cycles.
Compare that to Goliath for us.
Well, think about the big corporate process. You apply online, a recruiter in another state screens you, then you wait a week for a manager interview, then you wait for HR approval, then a background check.
By that time, the candidate has already taken another job.
Exactly. The best talent is off the market fast. A small operator, a founder, or a trusted manager can meet a candidate at 10 a.m., realize they're a great fit, and offer them the job by 2 p.m.
That agility allows them to snap up the best people before the giants even open the resume. That's a huge competitive advantage.
And there's one more human element mentioned, visibility. In a small operation, you aren't layers away from leadership. If you do a great job, the CEO might hear about it that week.
Or that day.
Or that day. In a massive hierarchy, you can work your tail off for years and feel like a cog in a machine. Invisible. In a small shop, your impact is visible.
Okay, so we have clarity, purpose, speed, and visibility. These are the human advantages. But we have to talk about the tools. The Source has a section on technology and simplicity.
Right, and it wasn't just buy more expensive software.
No, I was relieved.
McKinley is very pragmatic here. He argues that tech should only be used to remove low-value work and ambiguity.
What counts as low-value work here?
Shuffling paper, checking schedules, finding phone numbers. The Source mentions a specific tool called Connect Team. It combines training, scheduling, and communication all in one app.
Why does that matter so much to the hourly employee? Is it just convenience?
It's about friction. If an employee has to check a website for their schedule, look at a binder for training, and join a WhatsApp group for updates, that's cognitive load. It's annoying.
It feels disorganized.
Putting it all in one place respects their time. It says, we have our act together.
It simplifies their life. And speaking of simplifying, the Source mentioned using AI, which was interesting. It wasn't about replacing people.
No, this was really smart and very human-centric. It's using AI for how do I questions.
Explain that.
Imagine you're a new employee. It's your third day. The store is packed. A customer wants to return an item that requires a weird code you haven't used yet.
And your manager is busy helping someone else.
Right. You feel panic setting in. You don't want to look stupid. So McKinley suggests using AI support, where the associate can just type how to process refund for item X and get an immediate step-by-step answer.
That's brilliant. It gives them ease of access to information without the social anxiety. It's like a digital coach in your pocket.
It keeps them confident. And confident employees stay. It ties into the mantra the Source mentioned, complexity kills execution.
I circled that one. It's true in everything, isn't it?
It is. If you make a process too hard, too many steps, conflicting directions, people will just stop doing it. Or they'll get frustrated and quit. The goal is to simplify until it is repeatable.
The Source talks about tasking and checklist defining what done looks like.
That is the ultimate definition of clarity. If you tell someone, clean the store, that's objective. But if you give me a checklist that says, wipe counter, sweep floor, empty bin, I know exactly how to win the shift.
It removes the anxiety of, am I doing this right?
Exactly. When you engineer the employee experience to remove friction, you are making it easy for them to be good at their job.
So let's bring this all together. We started with David versus Goliath. The assumption was the small operator is at a disadvantage. But the Source turns that on its head.
The takeaway is that labor isn't a numbers game, it's a leadership game. And leadership is actually easier to execute when you are small and agile.
We've got a few big levers here. First, recruit for fit. by being brutally honest. The anti-sales pitch.
Clarity over persuasion. Don't trick them into the job. Define it.
Second, operationalize your culture. Don't just put purpose on the website. Make sure the manager lives it.
Purpose gives context to the hard work. It makes it meaningful.
And finally, use tech to simplify. Remove the friction so people can focus on the customer.
Use technology to protect your team's time, not just to monitor them.
It's interesting. We usually think David wins with a slingshot, some secret weapon. But here, the secret weapon seems to be, well, being human.
That's the small operator advantage. It's human clarity. We talk so much about AI and automation and algorithms, but McKinley's insight is that in a world of infinite noise, the ultimate competitive advantage is clarity, being the one place that makes sense.
When a small business can say to a candidate, here is exactly who we are, here is exactly what we need, and here is exactly how you succeed, that just cuts through all the noise.
You're not selling a role anymore.
No. You are defining a purpose.
Yeah.
And that's magnetic. People gravitate toward clarity.
They want to know where they stand.
So, here is the question we'll leave you with today. Whether you run a convenience store, a tech startup, or a coffee shop, are you selling a job, or are you defining a way to work?
It's a subtle shift, but it changes everything about who you attract and who stays.
It really does. That's all the time we have for this deep dive. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Take care.